Part 130. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1291. Chapter 1291. She is of no use. Very noisy. Guchensi's voice was cold and slightly impatient. Nangong Luo sneered, you brought the trouble on yourself. A crying child must be pampered by someone to be willful, and it happened that neither of the two men present were the same. Nangong Yu was no match for Nangong Luo's strength. When she was crying, Nangong Luo forcibly carried her to Guchensi's side and said, solve it yourself. At this time, Zhonyun finally couldn't hide and ran out. She held her daughter in her arms to comfort her, looking frightened. Finally Ken showed up. Nangong Luo, I'm sorry for what happened before, but it has nothing to do with you or. Why do you have to be so cruel to her? She is only a 3-year-old child. Even if it's a child, she must be taught to distinguish right from wrong. If you hadn't brought her here, what just happened wouldn't have happened in the final analysis. It was your selfishness that made you want to take advantage of your child. If Zhonyun really wanted to protect her daughter from any harm, she would not have brought Nangong Yu under such circumstances. Whether it's a lie or the truth, Zhonyun does care about her daughter, but her ambition is not small and she is also ruthless. Zhonyun was exposed as a hypocrite by Nangong Luo on the spot. She could not keep her face, as if she had been slapped in public, and her face was very dry. And when Nangong Yu saw Zhonyun coming, she seemed to have a guarantee, and complained to Zhonyun, Mommy, you said you can go home when you see Dad. I want to go home, and I want to find Grandma. Nangong Yu has been living with Zhonyun for the past few months. Compared with the princess-like life before, she has suffered a lot. There is no one to serve her anytime and anywhere, and she can't get everything she wants. Because Zhonyun didn't have time these days, she forced Nangong Yu to go to kindergarten. Nangong Yu was better than before. Although she was troubled for a few days, she finally stabilized in the kindergarten. But Nangong Yu is not used to the current life. He is used to living a beautiful life like a fairy tale, and then falling from the clouds is very uncomfortable. Nangong Luo can't bear it. She has been making noises to find Nangong Luo and Mrs. Nangong for a long time, thinking that if she finds them, she can go back to the past. She misses her grandmother who doted on her very much, and she also wants to live in her original big house. It's just that people have to face reality when they live in this world. Nangong Luo didn't want to tangle with the Zhone family at all, and he didn't even bother to face Zhonyun's questioning here. Nangong Luo turned around and left without even looking back. Zhonyun's face looked ugly. Guchensi also turned cold and said, trash. I originally thought that Zhonyun and Nangong Luo had always been entangled in the past 4 years. Even if Zhonyun was not good, the child would still be of some use, but now it seems that this child has no use at all. Did he overestimate Zhonyun or underestimate Nangong Luo's determination? Among them, Nangong Luo has never been a cruel person. He treats others with kindness and leaves room for others. But now I realize that some people only target certain things. Gong family. Gong Qinli had a delicious meal with her parents and agreed to stay at home with her daughter to rest for the night, but she was always thinking about Nangong Luo. At 8:30, I finally couldn't help but find an excuse to go out. Stay here and be obedient. Grandma will ask someone to take you to wash her in a while if mommy doesn't come back. Can you go to bed on time? Xiao Yuer nodded. Just as she was about to stand up, Xiao Yuer suddenly pulled her again, leaned into her ear and asked, is mommy going to find daddy? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1292. Chapter 1292. Luo, I'm in the hospital. Gong Qinli took a car from the Gong family and drove away. She went directly to Nangong Luo's house without contacting him. Some things have been held in my heart for too long, and I have to make a decision. You brat, I finally got you in trouble today, please pay me back. A group of gangsters with bad expressions cornered a man and a woman. The young woman grabbed the man's hand and hid behind her, her weak voice revealing her inner uneasiness. Who are they? Gong Qinli never thought that she would run into trouble while driving by. A man and a woman were blocked in an alleyway at night, and Gong Qinli immediately called the police. There was already a fight inside, and the painful screams were deafening. As a people's policeman, she finally couldn't help but open the car door and rush out. Stop! I'm the police. A roar made those people stop one after another. She habitually wanted to take out her police ID card but remembered that she didn't carry it with her in casual clothes. But her appearance was looked at carefully by those people. Instead of being afraid, she even kept pushing forward. Hey, here comes another beauty. Gong Qinli took a step back, her vigilance raised to the highest level, and she was ready to fight at any time. She stared at her eyes and said solemnly, I have already called the police. Call the police. The leading gangster deliberately looked back and saw that there was nothing but passing vehicles. The gangster smiled proudly. You said call the police, but what about the police? I'm really scared. While Gong Qinli was stalling for time with them, a man and a woman who were blocked posted on the wall and tried to sneak away quietly. The gangster standing by stretched out his hand and blocked the two of them inside. I want to leave, but there is no door. The scene suddenly became chaotic. The agile Gong Qinli shuttled through the crowd, but one person could not defeat the majority. He received a blow on his arm, which hurt his bones. You still dare to show off in front of our brothers, and you will be fined for not eating the toast, and I will beat you until you submit today. The sound of the police car came from far away, and the gangsters discovered the crisis and fled in a hurry. Gong Qinli held her injured arm and took 2 steps forward with a slight limp. The beaten man and woman huddled in the corner. Gong Qinli lowered her head and saw their trembling appearance, and couldn't help but ask, Are you okay? The man raised his head, and the panda eyes on his 2 eyes were very obvious. Cough, cough. Gong Qinli moved her eyes away and saw that the woman's hair was messy and she was also in a miserable state. Call 120. All 3 were injured, but they were not serious enough to require immediate admission to the hospital. Gong Qinli followed them to the nearby police station to make a record, which was delayed for more than half an hour. Officer Gong, your bravery is really an example for us to learn from. There were also young police officers who had just come out and praised her. Gong Qinli raised her arm. Your role model's hand is going to be disabled. Can I leave? Please. I couldn't drive now, so I took a taxi directly to the hospital. I checked it and luckily there was no fracture. She took out her cell phone and turned it around in her hand, then made a call. Hello. The voice coming from the other side was cool, and there was no emotion at all. Gong Qinli did not speak. The other party's call did not hang up, and the 2 of them remained silent. Gong Qinli didn't speak, and Nangong Luo didn't speak either. Gong Qinli has already made 18 twists and turns in her mind. Luo, I'm in the hospital. What's wrong with you? Where are you? What happened? Tell me the location. The silent atmosphere suddenly became active, and he even asked those questions incoherently. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1293. Chapter 1293. Can't you see it? I'm teasing you. Gong Qinli sent him the coordinates and said only one sentence, Luo, I'll wait for you to come. When you come, everything will work out. This place is not far from where Nangong Luo lives. He rushed here and started sweating in the cool autumn. He didn't know whether it was because he was in a hurry or because he was too anxious. He stood in front of Gong Qinli and looked at her carefully. There was no sign of injury on the surface. What happened? When I came here, I had a fight with someone when I saw an injustice. You came to the hospital, are you injured? Where is the injury? Is it serious? A series of questions fell into his ears. Nangong Luo wanted to reach out but was a little afraid of touching something he shouldn't have touched. Gong Qinli saw the undisguised worry in his eyes and these meticulous movements, and her heart throbbed with an indescribable warmth. I'm fine, don't worry. Why are you in the hospital if you're fine? Gong Qinli pointed to the injured arm and said, hey, don't hit it. I'm relatively weak. Come and apply some medicine. Hide the extent of the injury with half-truths. Nangong Luo even wanted to lift up her sleeves to check. Has it been checked by the doctor? Did you take any medicine? I've seen it and applied medicine. Look, I'm standing here talking to you properly. Nangong Luo observed her expression carefully, and found that her expression was indeed the same as usual, but he was still very uneasy and wanted to check it with his own eyes. Let me see. Why? Gong Qinli turned half of her body without leaving a trace, hiding a smile in her eyes. Li Nangong Luo frowned, unable to speak the next words. Although someone may be eloquent and joking at ordinary times, but at a critical moment, the more you care, the more cautious you will be. Not knowing how to answer that sentence, he awkwardly tried to change the subject. Didn't you take you home? Why did you come out and make yourself scarred? Do you know that this will make people very sad, worried? Well, I can see it, you seem very worried. Don't make a fuss, I'm serious. I'm also serious, aren't you worried about me? Of course I'm worried about you. Gong Qinli suddenly hooked his hand and led him to the side. As he walked, he said, I came out to find you. Nangong Luo was puzzled, looking for me? What's the matter? Why don't you call me in advance? If anything happens, I can pick you up. Gong Qinli suddenly stopped and looked up at his expression, smiling. Why didn't I realize you were so verbose before? Now that you are injured, you still find me nagging me. So are you angry now? If you hurt yourself because of your bravery, I would be very angry. His frown was very serious, which showed that he was really worried and angry that she didn't care about his own safety. Gong Qinli lifted up her sleeves and clearly displayed the injured area in front of him. Look, it was just a collision. It's really nothing serious. It's all green. Nangong Luo's frown deepened now. Gong Qinli raised her hand, and her gentle fingers touched his eyebrows, like distant mountains. I just realized now that you are very good looking. I used to have a baby face that was too tender, but now I look like a little fresh meat at my age. Wow, it's so cool. The one who feels the need to take advantage of others and Psy is none other than Gong Qinli. Do you know what you are doing now? Teasing you. Let you tease me. The deliberately low voice fell into the ears like feathers brushing against them. There was also a warm touch falling on her lips. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1294. Chapter 1294 Sleep with me. Short breathing and brain freeze. Gong Qinli's mind is blank now and she can't think of anything. She was kissed? Was this hospital attacked by Nangong Luo? Because I didn't exclude him, I didn't even move to push him away. The thin breath fell on the tip of her nose, and her heart seemed to be rocking on a lonely boat. She closed her eyes and obeyed his invasion. Even though she is the mother of a 3-year-old child, she is novice at kissing between men and women. The only experience I have is with Nangong Luo. I can count it on 10 fingers. He is so pure in this regard. It turns out that kissing is sweet. A hint of sweetness penetrates into the heart, and the delicate tenderness has an unparalleled beauty. Get some air, you idiot. Who is the only one who kisses and still gets laughed at? Gongkin Li's mouth twitched, and she pushed the person away. She put her fingers to her lips and her fingers were trembling. You think everyone is as experienced as you? Her words meant something. Coincidentally, Nangong Luo understood what she meant very well. Probably self-taught without a teacher. Who believes? Hand out his hand to push the person away. Gongkin Li pretended to be calm and walked forward. Nangong Luo followed quickly, the smile on his face never disappearing since the kiss. He chased the person out of the hospital, and when he saw Gongkin Li seemed to be going to the intersection, he directly pulled the person back to him, acted like a domineering president, and forced the person into his car. Follow me home. I have to go back and sleep with Yor. Yor is very good and doesn't need you to sleep with her as a father, he has to make decisions for his daughter today. What, then why did you take me to your house? Sleep with me. The four crisp words were so direct that they made Gongkin Li dumbfounded. Are you a 3-year-old child? Nangong Luo cooperated with her and said, Sister, I am 1 year old this year. Gongkin Li. Can't play it, I'm afraid of it. This was the first time Gongkin Li actually entered Nangong Luo's apartment after returning to China. She found that some of the decorations here were the same as those of Nangong's house in her memory, including the way the room seemed to be waving as before. Is Nangong Luo also a nostalgic person like her? No, it's just because someone is nostalgic, so he also develops this habit. There is a bouquet of dried flowers placed on the wall. If I remember correctly, it should be the pile of things she returned to Nangong Luo. They are now placed in the room. Doesn't it mean that whenever you see these things, you will think of her? These things is yours. When Gongkin Li hesitated, Nangong Luo gave the answer decisively. Gongkin Li's heart skipped a beat, and she said to save face, since I have returned it to you, it is no longer mine. Return. What you give out can never be recovered. You can't just pay it back if you ask for it. I just keep it for you. You will get it back one day. You are not me, how do you know I will take it back? Don't take it. Don't take it, if you lose, you won't lose. Even if you feel itchy, you can't show it. Nangong Luo does not play according to routines. Since he said he wouldn't take it, he directly stuffed the thing into Gongkin Li's hand. If you don't take it, I'll pack it up and stuff it back for you. These small objects carry the past that belongs to both of them, and he will definitely not let her forget those beautiful memories. Lu Li, will you forgive me? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1295. Chapter 1295 Live broadcast. Kneeling on keyboard and kneeling on durian. Nangong Luo remained silent and fetched a keyboard, then bent his legs and knelt on it. There was a pop-sound, making the keyboard sound crisp and loud. Gongkin Li was so scared that she took a step back. This is the first time she has intuitively seen such an upright operation of kneeling on the keyboard. Have you done anything to make me sorry? Why do you need my forgiveness? Gongkin Li, this is a true question. I was the 4 years ago letting you go was the thing I, Nangong Luo, regret the most in my life. The past things are in the past. Can I understand that you no longer care about those things in the past? Don't push yourself too far. I'm kneeling on the keyboard. What's the use of kneeling on the keyboard? If you have the ability, kneel on the durian. Really, if you kneel down on durian now, I will wipe out all the past affairs. Gongkin Li was so bold when she spoke. She was sure that Nangong Luo couldn't do it. Even if you have the courage to kneel down on a durian, can you still turn into a durian now? Gongkin Li smiled proudly, as if she was sure of victory. However, the smile on Nangong Luo's face was even more unpredictable. He took his legs off the keyboard, put away the white keyboard and put it aside. I went out for a walk and came back with a durian in my hand. Gongkin Li, what? Does anyone always have durian at home? And she remembered that Nangong Logo didn't eat durian at all. Nangong Logo placed the durian on the ground and stood beside it with straight legs. When his legs bent and he was about to kneel down, Gongkin Li kicked the thing away and held Nangong Logo's hand with one hand. Are you stupid? Kneel down if I ask you to do so. Do you still want these legs? A full-blown scolding. Nangong Logo's eyes fell on the clasped hands, and he felt as if he had eaten honey while listening to her scolding. Laugh, 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 don't even use your brain. I don't need to use my brain in front of you, I just listen to what you say. The simplest words can easily move people's hearts. Gongkin Li's ears turned red, and she suddenly felt as if her heartbeat was not her own. Don't think that if you say something nice now, you can pretend that nothing happened. I remember your old accounts clearly. What you say now is useless. Then stop talking and go to sleep. Probably Nangong Logo has discovered the secret of getting along with Gongkin Li. Actions are often more important than words. He puts people on the bed when he talks about sleeping. But he carefully avoided Gongkin Li's injured hand. The posture of man on top and woman on bottom makes people think a lot. A man and a woman are alone in the same room, and the ambiguous atmosphere gradually heats up. Gongkin Li had seen his wolf-like gaze once 4 years ago, and the result was that he fell out of love with him. Is history going to repeat itself again today? This time we can't let this big take advantage of him without being responsible. I'm already a wounded person, what else do you want? What are you thinking about? I'm just letting you sleep. Have a good rest. Nangong Logo suddenly left her body, picked up the durian he had brought from the corner and left the room, his back looking a little lonely. Nangong Logo's operation left Gongkin Li confused. This. What does it mean? Suddenly pulling back in the middle of flirting makes people feel the most itchy. The more itchy you become, the more you can't help but take the initiative to get closer. She sat up from the bed, squeezed her injured arm and walked out. She saw Nangong Logo coming towards her and intercepting her at the door. Don't go. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1296. Chapter 1296. A man and a woman alone are covered with quilts. Don't go. Take your hands away. I won't let you go. Nangong Logo was quite stubborn at this time. Gongkin Li didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She felt like she was trying to coax a child towards him. I just want to go to the toilet, please take your hands away. Nangong Logo retracted his hand angrily to give her a wide path. Gongkin Li pretended to be calm and went to the toilet, then went back to the room and called Xiao Yuer and the Gong family. She sprinkled a little yellow before going to bed with a calm expression and lay down to sleep. The brightest light in the room was turned off and replaced with the weak warm light from the bedside. Gongkin Li is not sleepy, she is very awake now. Not long after, there was a warm chest behind my back. The man reached out from behind and hugged her into his arms, as if she was suddenly on a hot stove, and her heart was filled with heat. A man and a woman are alone in the same room, or are they in an ambiguous relationship? Who can believe that they are just sleeping with quilts on them that night? I don't even believe it myself. It's easiest to get emotional in the middle of the night. Even if you pretend to be calm at first, you can't help but move your hands in the later stages. A single spark can start a prairie fire. When two people are ambiguous with each other, it only takes one person to take the initiative and many, unpredictable things may happen. However, Gongkin Li suffered a loss 4 years ago, and she was determined not to let him succeed this time. She held the line of defense at the most critical moment and kicked the person out of bed. There was a dong sound, and the movement was quite loud. Nangong Logo's eyes were full of resentment. Lu Li, Don't be so cruel. Who made you dishonest? Nangong Luo got up and left, hearing the sound of the door opening and closing. This door is very soundproof, otherwise she would still hear the sound of water spraying from the shower head next door. The cold autumn water washes down, and the taste is so sour and refreshing. Gong Qinli's arm was injured and she could not lift heavy objects. Her colleagues at the police station soon found out. At noon, she found an ointment on the table out of thin air. She read the instructions and it was specifically for bruises and sprains like hers. Taking the medicine, he casually asked the people around him, "Who is so kind and brought me medicine?" No one answered, no one took the credit. The colleague closest to her smiled ambiguously and said, "Which suitor could it be? I found out you were injured in the morning and the medicine came right now. It must have been brought to you on purpose." Gong Qinli held the ointment as if it were a hot potato. If that's the case, she can't even use it. It's easy for people to misunderstand if you accept things from others casually, okay. Since no one acknowledged it, she put the ointment in the corner. Since that person can put things here quietly, it means that she is an insider. If she just throws it away, it will definitely offend people. If she just leaves it like this, smart people will know what she means. In the afternoon, I went to the kindergarten to pick up the children. Only Xiao Yu did not see Nangong Luo. Your daddy didn't come today. Yes. Oh, let's go. After holding the child's hand and leaving the kindergarten, Xiao Yu had many questions popping up in her mouth. Mommy, do you want to see daddy? Who did you learn it from? Who taught you these questions? Xiao Yu is only 3 years old. Although she is very smart, she has little awareness of that aspect because she has not been with her father for a long time. She probably didn't think of such a sharp question on her own. Xiao Yu kicked her feet twice, smiling and refusing to say anything. Just chatting under the quilt. Just chatting under the quilt. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1297. Chapter 1297 Scam. Gong Qinli took Xiao Yu home and soon after settling down, she received a phone call from Ye Weiwei, saying, "Let's take the kids out for a dinner together tonight. I really have something I want to talk to you about." It is naturally difficult to refuse an invitation from a friend, let alone the only invitation in the night. Even though she thought it was a bit troublesome, she still agreed without hesitation and took Xiao Yu out. She had never been to the only place left in the night, but when she searched the map, she found out that it was a good place that had developed in recent years. It was said that it was a very tasteful high-end restaurant. The main reason for going there was not for enjoyment, food, but experience that romantic atmosphere. But Gong Qinli is usually quite rough, and as a police officer, she is not like those artistic and fresh little sisters who like to cultivate their sentiments. Besides, what kind of romance can she experience with a child? When I replied to the message on the way, I couldn't help but make some jokes. What, are you taking the children to cultivate their sentiments? Dong received the only reply from Ye, children communicate with children, and we play by ourselves. Gong Qinli understood the literal meaning very simply. But it wasn't until she arrived at the agreed upon location that she began to understand Ye's only true meaning. Ye Weiwei led her 2 children to wait for her in the lobby. When she saw her, she asked Len Yangzi to watch the 3 children and let them go to the entertainment venue outside to play games. Let's go. Ye Weiwei held her hand and entered the elevator together, leading her to a closed door. At this moment, the only cell phone ringtone in the night rang. Ye Weiwei pointed to the door for her, "You go in first, and I'll answer the phone." It's so true. It was so true that Gong Qinli had no idea what they were planning. Gong Qinli just opened the door and moved forward. Ye Weiwei closed the door without hesitation, clapped his hands neatly, and the curvature of the corners of his mouth deepened. Done. Gong Qinli turned around and it was already too late. It is precisely because we were unprepared that all the plans went so smoothly. When I walked in, I realized that this was not a private room for eating and chatting, but a very spacious hall. This hall is different. After entering the door, the floor is completely made of transparent glass, and you can see the pool through the glass. Stepping on the glass feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, and if you move, you will fall into the deep river below the cliff. Even though she is usually very brave, people are afraid of certain things, just like Gong Qinli is afraid of the feeling of high altitude. This is her weakness, Nangong Luo knows it. You came. Looking for the sound, she raised her head and saw Nangong Luo. The man was standing by the glass window, opposite her, at least 10 meters away from her. What do you want to do? Invite you to play a game. I don't like this game. There's nothing you can do about it. The door won't open until you complete the game. You threaten me. How can I give it up? How lacking in emotional intelligence is this? Nangong Luo walked toward her step by step, keeping his eyes on her, and his walking pace was smooth and natural. Gong Qinli was still worried until Nangong Luo's hand touched hers, holding her tightly and leading her forward. Look at me, don't look down. I don't know if his words had a specific hypnotic effect, but she did so seriously and took a few steps forward steadily. Walking to the middle position, Nangong Luo suddenly let go of his hand and left quickly. I have moved on to the next chapter, picture, someone asked at the top of his voice, are you going to get married or not? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1298. Chapter 1298. It's hard for me to coax you. Nangong Luo left without warning, and Gong Qinli stood there stunned. She was neither walking forward nor retreating. When she looked down again, her heart was trembling with fear. Nangong Luo, you. Lu Li, now you have two choices. What? What nonsense are you talking about? Take me away quickly. He knew that she was afraid of this kind of illusion and deliberately tried to tease her. She didn't have the energy to think more now, she only thought about how to move to a safe place. But this room is completely transparent except for the door. It feels like I am stepping on cotton, which has no sense of reality. Be obedient, two choices. 1. Marry me and I will carry you away too. I choose to without hesitation, because the arrogant Gong Qinli will never allow herself to be forced to admit defeat. But she said she chose to, and Nangong Luo also laughed. Okay, marry me and I'll carry you away. He not only talks with his words, but also takes action with his steps. When Nangong Luo walked to the middle, he hugged her directly. Gong Qinli wanted to struggle, but Nangong Luo said a word to scare her away, and she did not dare to do it again. If you move again, I will not be responsible for falling. Gong Qinli didn't dare to move, knowing that it was definitely safe here, but knowing and putting into practice are two different things. She directly hugged Nangong Luo's neck tightly and grabbed his ears, feeling dissatisfied. You are acting rogue. Only rogue to you. The offensive power of earthy love words cannot be boasted, especially when dealing with ambiguous people. The effect of earthy love words can be amplified several times and hit people's hearts directly. You, the person who was always articulate also stuttered at this time. Looking at the buzzing red lips, he lowered his head to taste the delicious food. Gong Qinli was really gagged after a straightforward operation. Nangong Luo chuckled. It seems that Ye Weiwei, an outsider, knows best that there is nothing you can say when dealing with Gong Qinli, because she is arrogant and likes to go against you on the surface. On the other hand, if she acted directly, she would lose her mind and agree enthusiastically. Nangong Luo always hoped that she would do something when she was hot. Lu Li, do you know that my heart has been with you for many years? I'm not you, How could I know? You know. When we were the only two relying on each other abroad, it was the most unforgettable time in my life, because you belonged to me at that time, even then, we were still friends. At that time, I made an agreement with the other party to pretend to be boyfriend and girlfriend to protect the other party from the rotten love blossoms. However, the blossoms were not blocked, and I fell into it. At that time, he didn't understand much. Later, when he heard that Gonkinli liked Gujinsi, he became jealous and wanted to be a good old man. But now he sees clearly that being a good old man is enough once, and he will never do such stupid things again. What's the use of saying this now? I know you are still angry, so I am doing this to make you happy. I'm hard to coax. Then I will coax you slowly until you really let go of your grudge. What if never? The current atmosphere is like someone asking a question, but Nangong Lugo already has the answer in his mind. Do you want to fall? No, no, no. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lou Kixie. Chapter 1299. Chapter 1299. Lovers finally get married. Well, I heard it, don't separate from me again. The sound of cheerful music gradually became clear in my ears. Suddenly a flower appeared from the ceiling above her head, its petals spread out layer by layer, emitting colorful light. The petals slowly grow, and the buds are fully bloomed, with many soft feathers and a long thread falling from them. She reached out and grasped it casually, and a silver ring appeared clearly in her palm. A ring, a proposal, and once you say yes, you will get married. This logic has been in her mind for a long time. It is complicated in her heart, and she always feels that there is nothing left to do when making a choice. I'm already the mother of a 3-year-old child, why should I get married? In my heart, you will always be my Princess Liulai. Boom dash. The flowers on the top of the head spread out again, this time it was not rings, but colorful ribbons representing joy and blessings. Promise him, promise him. The childish voice sounded close to the glass. It turned out that there was a door on the side. At this moment, each of the 3 children was carrying a basket filled with flower petals. They changed into small skirts that looked like male and female flower girls as dresses, and they all had smiles on their faces. Godfather and godmother are together. Mom and daddy are together. Children find shouting more and more interesting and addictive, as if they are competing to see whose voice is louder, raising their voices to express their blessings. The children are so sensible, so it is conceivable that a group of reinforcements invited by Nangong Lugo are also watching them. Gongkinli first thought of the kiss just now. It's just too shy, right? Nangong Lugo, this is a conspiracy. As long as I can deceive you, I will do anything. Even in such a childish way, he is willing to try. Give me a chance and let me protect you, and you will be the love of my life for the rest of my life. My godfather and godmother are together. Mom and daddy are together. My godfather and godmother are together. The voices of children coming from outside came one after another, as if they were competing, and they were all full of energy. Luli, are you acquiescing? Ask me, don't you know how to use your brain to think? Gongkinli half covered her face and used Nangong Lugo's arms to hide her expression. This is the default. Nangong Lugo was so happy that he didn't know where he got the strength to pick her up and spin her around a few times. Stimulate. The children were let in and gathered around the 2 adults. They are not afraid of this place. Even Gongkinli was surprised. Why are they not afraid? Are all the children nowadays so rebellious? Later, Ye Wei told her a secret. I told the children that the floor is a very beautiful painting. Walking in the world in the painting will only produce beautiful imaginations, so how can they be afraid? All things are the same, the most important thing is personal thoughts and mentality. Lugo, if you have the ability to make my parents accept you again within 3 days, I will marry you immediately. Let's leave it here. What to do depends on whether Nangong Lugo is active enough. Who made him almost miss his own child for someone else's child? It always takes some hardship to make him understand what is hard-earned and needs to be cherished. But when Nangong Lugo heard that request, he almost fainted from tears. It took him 3 weeks to get it, but he couldn't do it in 3 days? This test question is too scary. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lou Kixie. Chapter 1300. Chapter 1300. Comrades still need to work hard. There is a saying that the more a mother-in-law looks at her son-in-law, the more she likes him. Nangong Lugo thought that Mrs. Gong didn't regard him as her son-in-law at all, so she disliked him so much. His future wife asked him to seek forgiveness from the 2 elders of the Gong family within 3 days, which was by no means an easy task under the current circumstances. Originally I planned to conquer the smaller ones, then conquer the larger ones, and then convince the older ones. Now they are all rushing together, which is too stressful. Originally, I planned to take it step by step slowly, but now I can only find a way to take shortcuts. For this matter, he first bribed Ye Wei to whisper in Gong Qinli's ear, and then asked Mrs. Nangong to come out and think of a way to make the Gong family feel relieved. After understanding his purpose, Mrs. Nangong calmly picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said 2 words incomprehensibly, "No way. You are my mother. My mother can't do anything either. Mom, please think about it carefully. If I can't marry a wife, will Xiao Yuer still call you grandma?" This sentence hits the key point. Well, since what you said means this, then your biological mother, that is, me, will give you a trick on the spot. I don't know whether it will work or not. Mom, if you can let me succeed, I will come back and kneel down to thank you. Tisk, it's really the water thrown by the married son. Mrs. Nangong couldn't help complaining. Nangong Lugo. Has your mother been a little too active recently? Mrs. Nangong finally gave her son a trick and then drove him away. When Nangong Lugo turned around and left, Mrs. Nangong's eyes never left his back for a moment. I went into the house and made a phone call, hoping that my son would avoid some detours. Mrs. What's the matter with that expression? Outside, the little lady is back. Yuer is here. This was the first thought that came to Mrs. Nangong's mind. But the servant shook his head in embarrassment. No, it's Miss Yuer. In the past, when we were at home, everyone would either call Nangong you little miss or give her a different name. After Zhong Yun and his mother left, Mrs. Nangong told everyone that the young lady of the Nangong family would be Yuer. Looking at things from Zhong's mother's position, she would naturally not hold on to her son's mistakes, so the finger of blame was ultimately pointed at Zhong Yun, and she even felt that Zhong Yun was deceiving and taking advantage of him. For Nangong Yu, the fake granddaughter, of course she would not pamper and support her like before. It was only when I heard people say it that I realized that several months had passed since that incident. Humph, she really dares to come. This refers to Zhong Yun. Nangong Yule must be led by Zhong Yun. If the relationship with Zhong Yun is unclear, then the palace family will feel uncomfortable about it. Her son's revolution has not yet succeeded. If something goes wrong, her daughter-in-law and granddaughter will be dead. After careful consideration, Mrs. Nangong considered many issues and just said, no. But not long after, the housekeeper said that Nangong Yu was making trouble outside. It was different from her usual tantrums. He was used to her domineering look and now felt a little pitiful. Mrs. Nangong is not a cruel person after all. Sighed and said, bring it in. When the housekeeper was about to go out to pick up people, Mrs. Nangong added in time, only children are allowed in, and others are exempted. She showed by this act that she had nothing but pity for the child. Okay, madam. End of this chapter.